do can prepare you for some evil that is out there, y'all. Kids, teenagers, little kids, big kids, adults. There are things going on in the world right now that you don't think are going on, and they're going on.
In October 2019, 19-year-old Aniah Blanchard disappeared after being last seen at a gas station in Auburn, Alabama. A promising college student, Aniah's sudden absence left her family and friends desperate for answers. As investigators pieced together the disturbing details of that night, the case exposed unsettling flaws in the justice system and captivated national attention. Over time, shocking revelations would lead to the discovery of her fate and a push for major legal reform. So, what happened to Aniah Blanchard, and how did her tragic story trigger a movement for change? Let's get into the heartbreaking case and its far-reaching impact.
That the remains are, in fact, of Aniah Blanchard. We just received that confirmation. At this point, the case obviously will move forward as a homicide investigation at this point. And as you would expect, additional charges would be forthcoming.
Aniah Blanchard, born on June 22, 2000, in Northport, Alabama, lived a life filled with warmth and ambition. She was raised in Homewood, a suburb of Birmingham, where her bright personality and compassion left a lasting impression on everyone who knew her. The daughter of Elijah Blanchard, a successful businessman, and Angela Haley Harris, a dedicated registered nurse, Aniah grew up in a close-knit family. Her stepfather, Walt Harris, a UFC heavyweight fighter, played a significant role in her life, supporting her dreams and aspirations.
I want to say thank you, first and foremost, to the UFC. They've been amazing through this whole process. My wife and my family and I are so grateful. We owe you guys everything, man. Thank you so much. Dana, everybody, Mick.
During her time at Homewood High School, Aniah actively participated in school activities and excelled as a softball player and earned respect from peers and teachers alike. Her determination and passion for learning led her to Southern Union State Community College, where she pursued a degree in early childhood education. With hopes of transferring to Auburn University, Aniah dreamed of becoming a teacher and shaping young lives. Her family and friends often described her as loving, driven, and vibrant, someone who brought joy and positivity to those around her. Aniah's life, full of promise and ambition, was tragically cut short, leaving behind a legacy of resilience and kindness that continues to inspire those who remember her.
At first I struggled with it a little bit because I didn't want to take any attention away from her. But, you know, she tells me all the time, Daddy, it's okay. So I'm ready to get back to work.
On the night of October 23rd, 2019, Aniah Blanchard planned to return to her Auburn apartment, where she lived as a college student. She communicated with her roommate via Snapchat, sending a message at 11:09 p.m., and reassured her she was close to home. However, at 11:40 p.m., Aniah sent another message that raised alarm. She stated she was with a man named Eric, whom she had just met. This uncharacteristic behavior left her roommate uneasy, as it was not typical of Aniah to meet strangers or change her plans without notice.
I said, "Who are you smoking with?" "Eric." I say, "Who is that?" "I just met him." And I responded with, "Where?"
Around this time, surveillance footage from a Chevron gas station in Auburn captured Aniah's last known movements. The video showed her purchasing snacks and interacting briefly with a man nearby. Shortly after leaving the gas station, Aniah's phone activity abruptly ended at 11:47 p.m. near the Clarion Inn on South College Street. The sudden cessation of communication was alarming, as Aniah was known to maintain regular contact with her family and friends. When she did not return home that night, her loved ones grew increasingly concerned.
We FaceTimed every morning. That was kind of our thing, like, "Good morning, what are you doing? What do you got planned for the day?" So when I called her at 8 a.m. and she didn't answer the FaceTime, I thought, okay, well, she's busy.
On October 24th, 2019, Aniah's family reported her missing to the Auburn Police Department after she failed to return home and stopped responding to calls or messages. This sudden disappearance of the Aniah sparked immediate concern among her loved ones and initiated a large-scale search operation involving multiple law enforcement agencies. Investigators began piecing together her last known movements, relying heavily on surveillance footage and cell phone records.
The Alabama State Bureau of Investigation confirmed that information this afternoon, and we're told that the remains were found near Highway 80 in Shorter, Macon County. It's between Auburn, where Blanchard was last seen, and Montgomery.
The case took a critical turn on October 25th when Aniah's black 2017 Honda CR-V was located at an apartment complex in Montgomery, nearly 60 miles away from Auburn. The vehicle was visibly damaged, with dents and scratches on its exterior that were not present prior to her disappearance.
Where her car was found abandoned with her blood inside. And we've learned that a third suspect has been charged in Blanchard's disappearance.
Lee County District Attorney Brandon Hughes says that David Johnson Jr. is charged with hindering prosecution in Montgomery. We're awaiting his mugshot at this time.
This discovery deepened suspicions of foul play, and a closer examination of the car yielded disturbing evidence. Inside the vehicle, investigators revealed significant signs of violence. Bloodstains were found on the front passenger seat, which forensic analysis later confirmed to be Aniah's.
Go to the authorities, tell someone she was last seen in a black Honda CR-V 2017. Tag is 49 B2356. BS356, I'm sorry.
This finding indicated that she had suffered a serious injury. Further inspection revealed a bullet hole in the passenger side door and shell casings in the vehicle's cup holder. These details pointed toward a violent struggle or an attack. Additionally, the car smelled strongly of cleaning solution, suggesting that someone had attempted to sanitize the scene and conceal evidence.
The blood police found in Aniah Blanchard's car was indicative of someone suffering a life-threatening injury. And the DNA is a match for Blanchard's. The information was revealed in an affidavit.
These shocking findings created a disturbing picture of what might have occurred, transforming the case from a missing persons report into a suspected violent crime. The intensifying evidence compelled authorities to intensify their investigation as the search for Aniah and her potential abductors became more urgent with each passing moment. The focus now shifted to identifying suspects and revealing the truth behind her sudden disappearance.
Near Shorter, Alabama. After a brief search, investigators located what appeared to be the human remains several feet in the wood line, and an investigation is underway to determine if indeed those remains are those of Aniah Blanchard.
As the investigation into Aniah's disappearance gained momentum, law enforcement released surveillance footage on November 6, 2019, which depicted a man of interest at the Chevron gas station where Aniah had last been seen. The very next day, authorities identified the individual as 29-year-old Ibraheem Yazeed, a figure with a deeply troubling criminal record.
Take a look at these photos. Auburn police need your help identifying this man. They say he was in the convenience store the same time Aniah was last seen nearly 2 weeks ago. Police say he was seen leaving the store in either a gray or silver Lincoln Town car. You're asked to call police.
Yazeed's history painted the portrait of a dangerous man. At the time of the incident, he was out on bond for serious charges, including kidnapping, robbery, and attempted murder. Despite his violent track record, he had been released, allowing him the freedom that would ultimately prove devastating.
The man accused of killing Aniah was out on bond after being charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, and robbery. Harris tells me the law has been used over a dozen times, and Aniah would be proud to know violent offenders are being kept off the street.
The case against Yazeed strengthened when witnesses came forward with damning testimonies. One witness claimed to have seen Yazeed forcefully coercing Aniah into her car outside the Chevron station. Another person gave a disturbing account, saying that Yazeed admitted to shooting a girl because she had gone for the gun. These statements provided crucial pieces of the puzzle, which supported other evidence. Moreover, surveillance footage showed Yazeed at the station and his alleged interactions with Aniah. Forensic findings from her abandoned vehicle helped paint a chilling picture of the events that happened that night. Convinced of his involvement, authorities wasted no time in escalating the case.
Evidence, from within her vehicle is the reason that we are aware that, she was harmed, and we do consider this a case where there's foul play involved.
On November 7th, authorities escalated their search efforts by issuing a first-degree kidnapping warrant for Ibraheem Yazeed, who had been identified as a key suspect in the case. Acting on a tip, law enforcement traced Yazeed to Pensacola, Florida, near an exit off Interstate 10. When confronted, Yazeed attempted to evade capture by fleeing on foot. However, U.S. Marshals swiftly apprehended him and took him into custody. Following his arrest, Yazeed was extradited to Alabama, where he was detained at the Lee County Jail without the possibility of bond, signaling the gravity of the charges against him.
During the course of this investigation into the disappearance of Aniah Blanchard, it was determined by Auburn Police Division that Ibraheem Yazeed abducted Aniah from the Chevron on College Street here in Auburn. Once Mr. Yazeed was arrested,
the investigation into the case did not end with Yazeed's capture. Authorities looked closer into the circumstances surrounding the disappearance and exposed connections to two additional individuals. Antwain Fisher, commonly known by his nickname Squirmy, was arrested and accused of aiding Yazeed. Fisher was alleged to have played a role in disposing of critical evidence and providing transportation during the critical hours after the crime.
Investigators later arrested Antwain Squirmy Fisher, who's a convicted killer. They believe he helped Yazeed dispose of evidence.
Similarly, David Johnson Jr. faced charges of hindering prosecution, suggesting he may have obstructed the investigation or withheld information.
He's being held on a $50,000 bond. And then on Monday, David Johnson Jr. arrested and charged with hindering prosecution. His bond set at $7,500.
Despite their initial arrests, the cases against Fisher and Johnson revealed. Upon further scrutiny, the evidence presented against them was deemed insufficient to support the charges. As a result, both men had their charges dismissed.
Antwain Fisher were dismissed within the past hour by Lee County Judge Russell Bush. This comes after the district attorney's office filed a motion to dismiss. Investigators originally said Fisher disposed of evidence and provided transportation for the primary suspect, Ibraheem Yazeed.
This decision highlighted the complexities of the case as investigators focused their efforts on building a stronger case against Yazeed, the primary suspect. The arrests marked a significant moment in the investigation. Law enforcement worked tirelessly to uncover the truth and secure justice for the victim.
Authorities arrested Ibraheem Yazeed in Florida last week. Police say that he is their prime suspect in the disappearance of Aniah Blanchard. She's been missing now for almost 3 weeks. Police say Yazeed was at the same place that Blanchard was last seen.
For over a month, the disappearance of a young college student united her family, friends, and community in a desperate search for answers. Aniah's case captured national attention, drawing support from all corners. Law enforcement agencies worked tirelessly, pursuing leads and investigating tips. Volunteers joined search efforts, while high-profile figures such as UFC President Dana White pledged substantial rewards to encourage anyone with information to come forward. The public followed the story closely, hoping for a breakthrough that would bring her home alive.
$100,000 reward for any information in Aniah's case, thanks in large part to an outpouring of donations from the UFC community.
The hope that sustained her loved ones, however, was tragically extinguished on November 25, 2019. That day, human remains were discovered in a remote wooded area off County Road 2 in Macon County, Alabama.
Discovery made in a wooded area in the area of County Road 2 near Shorter, Alabama. After a brief search, investigators located what appeared to be the human remains several feet in the wood line.
Investigators on the scene identified a skull with a visible bullet hole, a harrowing sign of violence. Clothing found near the remains matched what Aniah had been wearing the night she disappeared, and a lead projectile was also recovered, further pointing to a violent end. The secluded location and the condition of the remains showed a dark situation that nobody wanted to think about. 2 days after the discovery, forensic experts confirmed the worst fears. The remains were conclusively identified as those of Aniah Blanchard through forensic analysis. An autopsy revealed that her death had been caused by a gunshot wound, leaving no doubt about the brutal nature of the crime. The confirmation brought an end to weeks of uncertainty, but delivered devastating news to her family and community. They had clung to the hope that she might still be alive, but instead, they were confronted with the heartbreaking reality of her loss.
We're going to get justice. Might not be this year, but maybe next year, but we are going to get justice for Aniah. And until we do, we're not going to give up fighting. We're still going to fight. We're still going to remember her every time we get a chance, and even after that.
Aniah's tragic death left her loved ones struggling with immense grief. Her promising life, full of plans for the future, was senselessly cut short. The community, which had rallied together in hope, now stood united in mourning and a shared determination to seek justice. The shocking details of the case ignited outrage and sparked broader discussions about safety and the justice system. While the discovery brought an end to the search, it also marked the beginning of a quest for accountability. The evidence gathered at the scene and during the investigation pointed to a calculated and violent crime. It was now up to the justice system to ensure that those responsible for this heinous act would face the consequences. Following the discovery of Aniah's body in November 2019, the case against Ibraheem Yazeed took a grave turn. Authorities promptly upgraded the charges from first-degree kidnapping to capital murder, underscoring the severity of the crime. This escalation reflected the growing body of evidence, including Aniah's remains, which confirmed she had been shot in a chilling act of violence.
See her last moments right there on the right part of your screen. With that latest information, the charges against Yazeed have been upgraded to capital murder in connection with the kidnapping and death of Blanchard.
Nearly 3 years later, in November 2022, a grand jury formally indicted Yazeed on 3 counts: capital murder during a kidnapping, capital murder during a robbery, and capital murder involving a victim in a vehicle. These charges showed a dark situation of the events leading up to Aniah's tragic death and highlighted the premeditated and heinous nature of the crime.
Today, he pled not guilty to all charges against him. If convicted, he could face the death penalty. Now, Yazeed is also facing separate capital murder charges in Lee County in connection to Aniah Blanchard's disappearance and death.
In March 2023, Yazeed appeared in court, where he pleaded not guilty to all charges. His plea set the stage for a high-stakes legal battle, with prosecutors announcing their intent to seek the death penalty. They argued that the brutality of Aniah's murder, coupled with Yazeed's extensive and violent criminal history, demanded the ultimate punishment. The case's progression continued to captivate public attention, as many sought justices for Aniah while coping with the horrifying details of her final moments. In the wake of her death, Aniah's family worked to ensure that her legacy would endure. Her mother founded Aniah's Heart, a non-profit organization dedicated to raising awareness about personal safety and supporting families of missing loved ones. Homewood Public Schools established a scholarship in Aniah's memory, and a bench at Patriot Park in Homewood was dedicated to her.
You can see right here, this is the bench here at Patriot Park where they've honored Aniah Blanchard's memory. Now, 2 words stuck out to me: friends and community. And tonight, folks, friends and community came here to honor the fighting and loving spirit of Aniah Blanchard.
These efforts aim to honor her life and inspire others to live with the kindness and determination that she embodied.